And popular amongst these urban intellectuals was this notion that a perfect utopian society could be built from the ground up on these Enlightenment principles and ideas. Dostoevsky obviously disagrees with this idea, and he does not think that it's possible. And the reason he doesn't think that it's possible is because human beings are not really fully rational beings. They are filled with contradictions. They are filled with strange desires that they barely understand themselves, that we humans, I am a human too, barely understand ourselves. So Dostoevsky, in some ways, was a kind of a early psychiatrist or psychologist before this field had really been established, exploring ideas of hidden motivations that drive people to do irrational things. And the Underground Man both espouses these ideas, so he says certain things like, he straight up says, a utopian society could never be built because humans like goals, but they don't like living with what they've created. So as soon as they've created something, they'll become bored with it and they'll tear it down again. So this may happen in individual people's lives, and it would also happen on the scale of a large society, that a whole group of people would have a goal, they would work towards it, they would have the enjoyment of trying to complete this task, have something to be focused on, but once it was created, they would just tear it all down again because they would need something else to move on to next. And also, he gives this example of saying, that humans, even if you told human beings what to do, if you told them perfectly how they were meant to live, this is the best way to live, A, B, C, D, E, F, they wouldn't do it. They would do something different just because they would rather be free than follow some kind of prescribed path. So that humans would choose freedom and misery over conformity and stability and happiness, prosperity, whatever the case might be. This character, the Underground Man, says these things, but he also kind of lives out this contradiction. He's a completely strange and contradictory character. He is an unlikable narrator. Basically, you're not really meant to be like, oh, the Underground Man, he's such a wonderful guy, I wish he was my friend. Like, if you're coming to read this story hoping to, love a character and be rooting for them as your favorite hero, that's not going to happen here. Not with the Underground Man. The guy is a disaster. And he knows that he's a disaster, and he embraces being a disaster, and then he pushes back against being a disaster. He rambles, and he contradicts himself. But this is all part of the game that Dostoevsky is playing. He is presenting us with a archetypal person, right? A person who is full of contradictions, who could not really be a member of this perfectly rational society that would be built from the ground up, that the idealists of the intellectual urban society were proposing at the time. Now, also, this Underground Man himself is living in St. Petersburg, so he's living in this big city. So he is kind of the very person who would have been espousing these new socialist, utopian, rational ideas. So in that sense, Dostoevsky is kind of poking fun at these people directly, and presenting them in the most unfavorable light. So even though this particular man, the Underground Man himself, does not believe that such a utopian society built on rational principles could be possible, he is the kind of person, the kind of demographic who would have been making those arguments, right? So you got to kind of look at it from all those different levels when you are reading this. I probably sound like I'm contradicting myself and saying all kinds of things backwards and forwards, so that's fine, because that's what this is all about. It's quite funny. There's some parts in it that are very just hilariously stupid. The Underground Man sets up tasks for himself that are completely pointless, but he gets completely invested in them. And that can make for some fairly entertaining reading. Remembering that this character is not going to be your best friend. He's a strange guy you're meant to feel ambivalent about him. But yeah, read it with all that stuff in mind, and just see where it takes you. And I look forward to reading your responses. Thank you.